Hello everyone, my name is Illarion and I'm going to talk about Lodash Library today. Lodash Library is a library that I use the most after jQuery. It's my everyday tool and I decided to share a bit about it with you. Lodash was created by John David Dalton and it was inspired by underscore. You might know underscore from Backbone. If you use Backbone, you should use underscore. It has recently passed almost 1 billion downloads on NPM, and it has 15,000 direct NPM dependers on it. That means 15,000 libraries use Lodash methods to build their own libraries. I said it is inspired by underscore, so why is it different? First of all, it's consistent. The methods are more consistent and the behavior is more consistent, not only inside the library but across browsers. It would be fair to say that underscore is fairly consistent as well, but Lodash is a champion. It's modular. Every method can be required in Node.js, for example, separately, and you don't need to take in all of the methods, the entire library in Browserify or Webpack if you use them. It embraces, enhances, and works great with ES6 and ES7. And at the same time, the compatibility build supports Internet Explorer 8 or even lower. And it can be used in a variety of module formats. AMD, ES, or CommonJS are regular requires. And it's completely covered with tests, 100% test coverage. I use it for everyday tasks in my work, and I combine it with jQuery, and I use it as for my scripts in Node.js and for my apps in Node.js. And one of the most popular methods is, of course, map. You might know map method from the array. But Lodash map is more universal. It accepts a collection. Lodash calls collection any array, object, or a string. Well, it treats string as an array with each character representing an item in an array. And the behavior is more consistent. So if you pass an object to map method, it iterates through values, and you have also access to keys. If you pass an array, you have array values and indices, as usual. So here, what we can do with map. We pass an array 1, 2, 3, and we pass a function that would change the value in the resulting array. Please note that most Lodash methods do not mutate the collections. The arrays or objects, they produce a new one. And that's important. I embrace a functional approach in my work, and I really like that the data stays the same across the application. And here is an example how we can iterate through a string. We take hello world and pass a function that will return a character code. And we get a list of each character code as an array. Another popular method is reduce. Reduce allows us to Simplified, reduce allows us to get a single value out of a collection. So, for example, we want to add the array values together, 1 plus 2 plus 3, to get 6. we use reduce, pass an array, and pass a function and the starting value. And we get 6. And here is an example with an object. We pass an array to reduce, and we get an object. So each value becomes a key in the object. And well, for simplicity, I've decided to make each value true. So we can transform a collection, an array or an object, into an array or an object or a value or a string, and map and reduce work well together. You first you map something, then you reduce it to something else. I'm going with it somewhere. I said practical examples, and there will be one. Filter and reject methods. As you can see, we can filter an array. So we take a value that is more than 3, and we get an array only with those values. And if we use reject, the if function returns true, it will discard that value. So it's opposite of filter. So this way, when we work, we can change just this word. We can replace filter with reject and get the opposite result. And my favorite Lodash method is chain. Almost any Lodash method can be chained together. So we can have just one variable and just take an array and map it, reduce it, filter it, and then map it, reduce it, and so on and so on. And we will see a nice stack. It's very readable, and it doesn't require intermediary variables. Chain can be called implicitly, but I like to use explicit call. So we call chain, and then pass an array, and then we have a list of what we want to do with it. So in this example, we take our array from 1 to 6. We filter the value, get 4, 5, 6. Then we map it. We multiply each value by 5. We get 20, 25, 30. And then we reduce it to a single value. We add it together, and we get 75. And it's, as you can see, we can add here var result. And we just need one variable. We assign all of this to one variable, and it's clean and nice. Practical example. This is what I've talked about in my first appearance on WarsawJS stage. I was doing a small lightning talk about my findings on how to list duplicates in an array. Please note, list duplicates instead of removing them. Almost any library has a deduplication method. But what if we want to find the duplicates and know where are they, what are they? So we want to list duplicates. And I also wanted to have a highly readable solution. Any iteration, regular iteration through an array with a form for each method is clunky, and you don't always understand what happens in the process. Plus, it mutates the array. So if something goes wrong, you might not know where it went wrong. And to address Dominic's talk. If we mutate an array during the execution of our app, something else might go wrong, and we translate it to HTML right away. So we want immutable data. And here's the entire code. We take an array. We have duplicates here. 4, 4, and a couple of 3 here and here. I haven't told you about those methods. I'll just explain them right now. Lodash can transform an array into object. So it groups each value. Here it's better. It groups each value, creates a key from each value, and groups values under that key. So if we have only one in the array, so we get a key of 1 and an array with a single value. But we have 2 numbers here, so the array will have a length of 2. So we have transformed an array into object. Then we use pairs method to transform it back to an array. And then we filter it. Here's the code. And then we filter it. When we take the last of the pair, that is a resulting array, and check if its length is more than 1. So if here's the result. If we have 2 3s and we have 4 4s, and that is the result of filter. And then we just map. We take the first value of the pair, the name 3 and 4, and we have result. Here we have found 3 and 4. Is it readable? I understand it's complicated at first, but you should have seen the other solutions. It's a nightmare. And here it's quite readable, and it's composable, and it's adaptable. For example, what if we need to find duplicates that happen not twice but 3 times only? For example, they happen twice and it's normal, but we want to check if they happen 5 times or 6 times, and any other solution would not work. But with Lodash, we have to change only a single line. Here, we said that we want to find the array length that is more than 5, and we get the result. Plus, you can inject any other map or reduce methods into this stack and get the value in the end. Please note, if we use chain, the last value call is necessary to get a clean array without all the Lodash craft. And my other favorite methods in Lodash. Object manipulation, get and set. For example, we have a deeply nested value of C. It's A, B, C. And we don't know if it exists. So in the conventional way, we would have to check each level to see if it exists, and then try to fetch the value. Otherwise, a type error will be thrown and everything goes down the drain. And get methods allows us to do just that in a simple dot notation. Plus, it allows us to set a default value. For example, we've gone through all the hoops. We've checked each level. And in the end, the final step is not there. So we get undefined and pass it to our app. But we wanted a number. So we get another type error somewhere else. And here we just can designate a default number. So if this C value does not exist, or even if A does not exist, we get 3 by default, guaranteed. It's a very helpful method. I use it all the time because it allows me to write less code, and my code is more stable. Of course, if you work on an SPA, you can test it and you can see all the errors that happen in your code on your server. But if you have to give your work to client and somebody else takes over and adds something, that's why I asked Dominic about somebody else adding something to his code, because quite often we hand off our work to and never see it again. And we would like to ensure it works all the time. And the complementary method of get is set. We can set deeply nested keys in an object by passing the same values. For example, we had an empty object, sorry, and we wanted to create a deeply nested C key with a value of 5. The set method will create A, B, and C for us automatically. And we also have has that allows us to test if that value exists. Deeply nested value, if the deeply nested value exists. Okay. We have also function execution control. As far as I remember, Safari fires resize event multiple times, around 100 times when the browser window is resized. But we would like to do something heavy, and for example rearrange elements or fire some JavaScript code, and it would be taxing to fire it at 100 times. So we can use a debounce method that would allow us to run the calculate layout function only once with an interval of 150 milliseconds. That is, debounce function will wait for all resize events that are coming in fast. It will wait and fire calculate layout only once. And this is a time window within which events should come in. So if they come in later, 200 milliseconds, the calculate layout will fire. And we have also throttle. It's useful for scroll events. Throttle will run update position function every 100 milliseconds, at least once. So it dumps most of the events, most of the scroll events, and fires stably within 100 milliseconds. Quite useful. I'm sure other libraries have it, but as I mentioned, Lodash is utilitarian and consistent, so the methods work the same way. It's better when it works, everything works the same way. And my favorites are string manipulation methods. It's a start case, where non-digit and non-letter characters are stripped and replaced with, as you can see, we have pluses here, and the word world is not capitalized, and we have hello world in the end. Camel case that follows the convention in JavaScript, so the first letter is small and the world is capitalized. And snake case, that the result looks like Ruby with an underscore. And my favorite case is kebab case. You can read it in Lodash documentation. That's all. You can go to Lodash site and read more about methods. The documentation is very, very good with lots of examples. You can take a closer look at my list duplicates in an array solution in my demo repo. And I would like to thank Orange Brompton for his kebabs image. Thank you. That's all.
Thanks a lot, Illarion. I think I'm going to use one of your methods, especially that I recently had to make some object manipulation, which I had make a lot of tedious work, which forget about it. So, do you have any questions?
I promise you won't be able to live without Lodash after trying it.
I believe
that's my personal experience.
Yeah, looks like it. So, any questions? No questions. By the way, if you want to have a lighting talk and you don't need to wait for the next month or the 2 months, if there is any vacant place where you can have your presentation, you can also have it even now or after this last presentation and to have your 5 minutes for yourself. All right. So, thanks, Illarion.